Yeah. This is so weird. How did this become? Right. I hope you guys enjoyed the first blog. Powerlifting. So there are many different forms of strength training, especially like different sports and competitions that athletes perform to basically become the best at. Powerlifting is mainly comprised of 3 compound movements that people do consecutively each week on each individual day, that they progressively get heavier on with each movement so that the weeks build up to basically a one heavy 90% and above 1 rep max. This generally is quite effective with strength because obviously you're doing heavy weights and low reps. Obviously with powerlifting you have different programs for powerlifting, so the initial portion of a powerlifting program would be the volume portion, and so higher reps with still relatively heavy weight, but it basically allows your body to get used to the technique for, say for instance, the squat, because there's a lot of technique work that goes into a squat. When you have 200 kgs plus on your back and you weigh like 75 kilograms, that's a lot of weight. That's more than 2.5 times your body weight on your back, and you have to do that for many repetitions. So it basically teaches you to stay consistent with every rep, so that when you get to your heavier rep ranges and your heavier weights and your heavier reps, which are obviously going to be lower reps because you're not going to be able to lift, say, 300 for that many reps as you would for 200. This is an example. Yeah, so powerlifting is basically a form of strength training that people use or utilize to make them stronger so that they can lift heavier weights for more repetitions, and the longer you do it, the better you get at it, basically. Consistency is key. That's the one main takeaway from powerlifting. Will powerlifting make me bigger? As with any form of training, powerlifting is something that you need to do for a long period of time in order for you to see significant progress in it. That's because powerlifting in itself is not meant to build size. Powerlifting was created so that you could gain strength to lift heavy weights for low reps. There are different strength adaptations you can do in your programs which allow you to increase the rep ranges with the heavier weights. But obviously with linear progression, you would have to go through a couple of weeks or a couple of blocks doing that. So a block is basically a 8 to 12 week program that powerlifters like to call blocks because it's different, you know. Yeah, so you have to go through multiple different blocks in order for you to slowly build up to a heavy 1 rep max. You need to teach your body how to handle that heavier weight. Say for instance, your max bench press is 140 kilograms. If you wanted to do 140 kilograms for multiple reps, eventually, then you have to start with your lighter weights, say 100 kgs or 80 kgs, be able to push those rep ranges up, and then over the course of a couple of weeks, increase the weights, which then those increased weights where you would be able to increase the reps on as well. And proportionally, as you build up to that 140 kilograms again over the course of a couple of weeks, then 140 kilograms would follow the same path as what the 80 kgs or 90 kgs or 100 kgs that you previously did as well. So your rep ranges will only go up by like 1 or 2 reps per block, I would say. Not really a significant amount, but this just shows a slow increment in strength. This just shows an increase in strength over a long period of time. Obviously, the longer you spend working on your technique, the longer the block is. Say, instead of doing a 12-week block, you do a 16-week block. It would be probably more beneficial because now your body is getting more used to the heavier weights over a longer period of time. So you'll be able to handle those heavier weights a lot easier, which would probably be better, you know? So if you're looking for programming, try and go for 12 weeks plus, so basically 3 months and above. You don't really want to build up to a heavy 1-rep max in 6 to 8 weeks, because that's a bit short. I know it may seem enticing to go for 1-rep max earlier on in your program, because it's fun to lift heavy weights. I'm not gonna lie, I've done it many times, but the problem with that is the risk of you injuring yourself is a lot higher. So you could strain your hamstring, which could put you out for 2 to 3 weeks from training. So then your block has to restart, or you have to do a deload and then start from base again. So it's better to just stick with the program, go through a 12 to 16 week cycle of training and progress from there, because the slower you build, the longer you're going to be able to maintain that muscle and strength. So yes, powerlifting will eventually make you bigger over a long period of time, not a short period of time. If you want to get bigger, go more towards bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is obviously more volume based and specific to sculpting your physique, or obviously if you eat more. Then again, training is also in conjunction with your diet and your eating. So the more you eat, the more you can recover from training. Therefore, the stronger you will eventually get over, say, 1 block instead of 2 blocks. And the more effort and work you are able to put into your training. If you don't eat enough, it'll get to a point where now you've gained an immense amount of strength, but your body just isn't able to recover. So you need to start eating more so your body can recover, which in turn, the more you eat, the heavier you're gonna get, the more weight you're gonna put on, the more size you're gonna put on. So in turn, yes, you will get bigger. But again, it takes a longer period of time for that to happen. Can powerlifting stunt growth? You'll hear this question a lot for any form of heavy lifting training, whether it's strongman, bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, any form of weight training. If by growth we're talking about height, not really, because it's dependent on genetics. Your height is determined by obviously your parents and your parents' parents and your parents' parents' parents and obviously your ancestors and all that. The genetic line and genetic pool basically determines your outcome, your X and Y chromosomes. But that's getting into genetics. We're not getting into that right now. There is a temporary displacement of height when you're training. Obviously, when you have like 300 kilograms on your back for a squat, your vertebral discs are going to be compressed, therefore making you slightly shorter than normal when you're standing without any weight on your back. But that is obviously temporary, and it's not going to permanently affect your height growth. But there are also other factors that can affect your height or total growth, including how much you eat, what sports you play, what activities you did as a kid, past injuries, past surgeries, any form of performance enhancements. All of these things kind of play into effect when you're talking about your growth as a person physically, but height, not so much. I guess ways to reduce your height decrease or temporary height decrease is to obviously stretch your muscle fibers so that they don't become tight and therefore don't pull on your bones. The tighter your muscles are, the more the tendons pull down to make the muscles shorter. This can technically create this temporary height decrease, which you can work on. To be fair, you can actually do mobility and stretching exercises. You can do yoga if you want to. All of this will help to release tight muscles, which will also benefit your training, specifically for powerlifting, because powerlifters don't do much mobility work. The more mobile you are, the more you're able to move. Then again, also with powerlifting, you need to be careful about not being too mobile because you want to create tightness and pressure when you're powerlifting. The more tightness and pressure you can create through your core and your entire body, the heavier you can lift. So it's definitely a fine balance with powerlifting. You just need to be careful with your body and what you do with it, you know. But that's again with all things, bodybuilding, running, any form of sports. That's it. This leads me on to the next question. Is powerlifting dangerous and can it cause injury? As with any sport, any physical activity, you can injure yourself and there are potential risks to hurt yourself. Muscle strains, fractures, muscle tears, sprains in your ankles, sprains in your wrists, sprains wherever. It just depends on how you look at what you're doing. If you prepare your body enough so that you won't get injured or you reduce the risk of getting injured, then you won't get injured. But if you don't prepare your body and you just go in for like a 1 rep max without warming up properly, without doing your stretches, without doing your mobility, then of course, yes, it is dangerous because now you're doing a 90% and above 1 rep max and all of a sudden your hamstring tears or your bicep tears and you become the next TikTok sensation because no one likes to see that, but at the same time people post that sort of thing. So yes, there are many risks to lifting heavier weights, but it's your basically responsibility to keep yourself safe and to keep your body mobile enough to keep it safe for the heavy lifting. How to avoid injuries in powerlifting? There's lots of ways to avoid injuries in powerlifting. You can set a daily routine where you do your stretches, you have a couple of exercises that you do every day, do the same ones, upper body, lower body, core, back, all these exercises you do in a routine for 30 minutes to 45 minutes every day. If you don't have 30 to 45 minutes, you can do maybe 10 minutes every day, just stretching out your hamstrings, stretching out your quads, your back, especially your back. The more you stretch out your back, the less tight it's going to be, the less knots you'll get in your back. So the more you'll be able to do in your actual training sessions. I find it's best to probably stretch before you do anything in the day. So when you wake up, because when you get to your training session at the end of the day after work or after going to school or after university, you don't really want to spend 45 minutes just warming up and stretching before you do your actual training. You know, sometimes people only have 1 hour to train. So you want to do your stretching maybe as a first session in the day, and then obviously if you train at the end of the day, that would be better. But if you train in the mornings, then you're just going to have to deal with that because that's the only time that you can train. Then again, you can also do your stretching at the end of the day after work or after school, you know. But yeah, it's definitely a fine balance, as I was saying. Powerlifting, you don't really want to get too loose, so you want to keep that tightness, keep that pressure in your body, because that's obviously the way you're going to lift the heavier weights. If you guys are still wondering how to write a powerlifting program or how to do powerlifting, the best way to actually learn powerlifting is to actually hop on a program and basically see how your body adapts to that sort of training. So up on our website, we've got something called the Heavy Lifter. I mentioned it in the previous vlog. It's basically a strength-based program where you have really heavy sets, really heavy weights, gaining proper strength, fully functional, and obviously your volume sets, which is going to obviously gain size at the same time. It's more of a power building program. Then again, if you're not really interested in the strength portion, you can obviously go to the Architect, which is more of a bodybuilding style of training where you can just sculpt your physique to how you want it to look aesthetically. And I know a lot of people are really into that whole bodybuilding style of training, not really so much the heavy lifting, because heavy lifting, look, it can be dangerous. It's more dangerous than bodybuilding, but if you prepare properly, obviously you're gonna reduce the risk of getting injured. So have a look at it on www.heavymetallifting.co.za and let me know what you think. There's also customized programs there. You can sign up for a monthly membership where you can have full-on discussions with me directly, and we can get you the progress that you're looking for, you know? We also have merchandise for heavy metal activewear, t-shirts, bags, bottles, caps, beanies, sweatshirts, hoodies. If any of you are interested in that sort of thing, go take a look. We've got a whole range of different things. We've got the anime range. We came out with a new compression range as well. So if you guys are keen, go take a look, order some stuff. We'd appreciate it if you guys supported the brand. And I'll see you in the next vlog.
Hey yo, I clutch Mike's achy finger. Flow